Hey there, my name's Pete and I like pictures. We're in, guess what, Lightroom again. And let's talk a bit about noise reduction in Lightroom. This is a shot I made at a comparatively very high ISO of 6400, which is a lot. And well, for me, this shot proves if we zoom in, yeah, we see some graininess going on, but not really something that is very annoying because, well, this is an 80 megapixel camera I shot that with, the Canon T5i, the 700D. And my output size for the web, and that's what I use my pictures mainly for, is hardly more than 1000 pixels on the long edge. So not only the picture gets resized, also the noise gets resized and the graininess gets resized. So I probably hardly see this noise at all in my final picture. I don't even mind about that. Depending on which camera you use, you might be able to go even higher. I heard that Nikons are much better with high ISOs than Canons, for example. Or, well, it can also be that you can't use these amount of high ISOs. I had, before my 700D, I had the Canon 550D, the T2i, and I hardly ever went above ISO 3200. Just try that out, check what you can do, what you can live with. That's also a lot of a matter of personal taste. I think that is okay. If I use the picture like that, no problem. Of course, if we start to play around with the exposure sliders, just brighten the picture up, you see the noise becomes much more apparent, especially in the darks. There's the saying, the shadows is where the noise lives, and that's true. If you brighten up shadows, we can do that here. You see, oh yeah, we see noise, or the noise becomes more visible than it was before. Or even here, see in the trees, you suddenly see noise where before that, yeah, it was a bit of graininess. So if you change something on the photo, you probably will want to add some noise reduction, and you find the noise reduction in the Detail tab. There are 3 sections, that little preview that you can move around by clicking on this cursor, and you check out which part of the picture you want to use as a preview. You have sharpening that has nothing to do with noise reduction. We'll talk about that in a different video. And we have noise reduction, luminance noise reduction, and color noise reduction. And that is actually a thing with Lightroom that I really like, because Lightroom treats color noise and luminance noise differently. And you also see, these are the defaults. I didn't change anything. You see Lightroom already changed the color noise reduction to 25 and the detail and smoothness to 50, while the luminance noise reduction is at 0. And while the detail slider is at 50, but it doesn't do anything because the luminance is at 0. So let's just zoom in and check what these sliders do. Color noise, if we set the color noise slider to 0, you see, oh my God, there is a lot of color noise going on here. And that is really something annoying. You see the picture suddenly looks grainy and blotchy and really unappealing, even at that, if we are zoomed out. So color noise is something that is really annoying, while luminance noise is something that, well, some people say it resembles the analog grain of high-speed films, like films with ISO 400, 800, 1600 and above. So, well, you can argue about that if it really resembles like that. It's like digital noise is always a bit different than analog noise. And if you really like the analog noise and grain, well, actually in analog it's not noise, it's grain, then you can add that with the effects tab with the grain sliders. That is a bit closer to analog grain, but still not really. If you really want to do that, there are special plugins. But I think for most uses, this will do if you want to add that. So let's get back to the noise reduction. You see a lot of color noise going on. And the cool thing about color noise reduction is you can remove color noise with hardly losing any details at all. And look at the fine details here. If we add color noise reduction, they stay. But you also see the colors get a bit, well, let's say desaturated. And it's even if you go to 100 with the color noise reduction, look at the windows here. Yeah, somebody switched off the light. That is because color noise reduction works by smoothing the color channels. It's actually a blur. And since the human eye is much more sensitive to brightness changes than to color changes, this works. And that's also some way digital compression of photos works. You lose a lot of detail and information in the color channels because, well, the human eye doesn't see it. So I don't know the exact numbers with photos, but with video, it's just a bit geekiness here. With video, it's you only, unless of course you record uncompressed video, but some people do, you lose 3/4 of the color information. So only 1/4 is left. So, and still looks gorgeous if you do it right. So, okay, let's talk about noise reduction. Color noise, I think I can even go back to 20. You see, between 25 and 20, I don't see any difference. So I try to remove as little noise as ever possible, just to retain as much information as ever possible. All information I still have in the picture is information that I can work with, or that I then actually see, or if I output the photo, that the compression can work with. So my pictures will look more detailed. There's also one little thing. You probably have realized that if you have a picture with a lot of detail, and noise and grain is nothing else but detail in your photos, your outputted JPEGs will be bigger than if you add, or if you have pictures with less detail or with very smooth, plain areas. If you really have to rely on very small JPEGs, you probably want to add a bit of noise reduction. But that is, yeah, it sometimes is a lot. Okay, color noise reduction. We have the amount, of course. We have detail. We can add a bit of detail. The problem is if we add detail, we also reintroduce color noise. So we have to go higher with that slider. And to my personal experience, the detail slider, at least in the color noise reduction tab, doesn't do too much. So you can see this is something, if you look at the windows again, if we have details at 0, you hardly see the color in the windows at all. And if we go up, it's back there again. And the smoothness is something that is very, very useful if you have some really bigger artifacts in the photo, noise artifacts, so you can smooth it out even more, but you'll also lose detail. So you see the colors get a bit desaturated by that. So this is really something, I can give you any recipe that works for your photo. The best thing is, at least in my opinion, to go with what Lightroom presents you as a default and play around with that. Try to tweak that a tad. You will most definitely get the best results with that. Okay, luminance noise reduction is something that I hardly touch at all because luminance noise reduction really removes a lot of detail. And you see it is set to 0. And I said that, and I guess I said that already in that video. I forgot what I said. The best way to work with those sliders is always to go to the extremes and see what it does. And you see, oh my God, this looks awful because it's just washed out and plain areas and not really appealing. So we go back to, let's say 13, looks better. Go to 65, go to 30. Even with 30, it's too much for my taste. So I go back to 0. Too much grain, I get up to 25. Also too much, I go to 10. So I guess noise reduction, luminance noise reduction at about 10 is okay with that photo. We can add some details. See, if we are at that low amount, the detail slider doesn't really do anything. You see some slight little changes. Can add some contrast. Also doesn't do anything. I will show you when we're at 100, you see it's a bit more apparent detail. We see some more detail, but also this also introduces some weird artifacts. Also almost have some sort of an artistic paintbrush kind of thing. I don't know. Looks a bit crystallized. Get some contrast. So if you like that, if you want to go with that. To me, this is much too smooth, so I will go with a noise reduction of about 10 and reset those sliders to the defaults. And I guess we can work with that. I guess there's not much more to say about noise reduction. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to either write a comment or contact me on my Tumblr. That is twoom.tumblr.com, twoom.tumblr.com. This one's for today. Bye. Till next time.